You're listening to Ka-Pow, the pop culture podcast. Comics, television, movies, and more. If it impacts fan culture, we have something to say about it. And now, your hosts, Michael, Jordan, Cliff, and Seth.
Five, four, three, two, one. Hi, this is the illustrious Michael K. Easton.
I am Jordan Lowe.
I'm Jared Lowe.
And I'm Seth. Sorry about that.
We don't stand on
I didn't know what
ceremony.
order we were going.
Which podcast are we doing?
The regular news one.
Okay, regular.
All right, while you guys get it started, I'm going to go wash my feet.
Great.
You don't have to announce it.
I thought you were going to do it live. YouTube live. That's what you want to do.
All right. Well, Cliff is winging his way to sunny Florida for a well-deserved Disney vacation and leaving all the technical aspects up to us. So we hope this all works out. And filling in his shoes is Mr. Jared Lowe, the mayor.
I'm happy to be here, filling in for the man himself.
So, yeah, what you want to get the last word on anything Disney?
You know, since I'm in this chair, I feel like I've got to bring something Disney to the table. I was going to throw out there, this was a few weeks ago, you guys did your musical moments. Mm-hmm. And I know Cliff it was a very Disney-heavy list. And then we had Justin Lowe came in, he had all his Disney stuff. And I was like, you know what, I'll just have the last word.
Yeah, it didn't really get settled between those two.
So let's just settle it right now.
Okay.
The three best
whatever
musical,
this is set in stone.
Yeah.
This is
So
last.
the three best musical moments in the Disney animated feature are number 3 is Colors of the Wind from Pocahontas, okay?
Okay.
Number 2 is anything from the Moana soundtrack. We'll say How Far I'll Go.
Mona.
Okay, and then number 1 is obviously I'll Make a Man Out of You from Mulan. Okay, this is everyone knows this. I don't know where those guys were all over the place with their picks. So let's just so that's settled now.
I'd love to listen to that song while I eat chicken McNuggets.
Yeah. So there it is.
That sounds like a solid list to me.
Yeah.
Can't
And
imagine
no one
it.
could ever dispute it.
No, because we've moved past it now.
Right.
We're beyond it.
I feel like any more thoughts on it would be taking it too far.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. That's good. Toys R Us is closing. This is a real quick thing here. We've found that out recently. Anybody sad?
I don't go in very often, but I it hasn't been here forever, right? I mean, I remember when we got a Toys R Us.
Really? When was that?
I feel like it wasn't there at the mall when we were growing up, was it?
I
No.
don't know. I'm not sure.
No, but it's been there for
Or did we just maybe Mom never told us it was there?
That's more likely. You guys allowed to go to Parkersburg?
Yeah.
It's like, look, it's J.C. Penney's. That's the only place we can go in
I
Parkersburg.
honestly don't know. I wish I would have looked that up, but it seems like it's been there for so long.
Yeah, I don't remember shopping there when I was, buying G.I. Joes and stuff of that age.
Okay.
So I remember it coming to our area a little later. So maybe I don't have the nostalgia.
Yeah, I mean, like most people nowadays, I think we're all tend to do more shopping online.
Yeah.
But I mean, my wife and I, we don't go there very often, but around Christmas time, we still go every year to Toys R Us. They sometimes have some good deals and stuff around Black Friday and stuff like that, where you can find a few things.
Well, I used to work right beside it at Chi-Chi's, and could go over there on Black Friday mornings because I always had to work that morning, and I go in there and get. I went there. I don't know when they were open, but I remember always going there. And then when I had a kid, it was like going in there, and it was like making your way through the store, go up the left, go up all the aisles, and end up with your kid playing with Legos at the little table, and just I have a lot of memories of Toys R Us. And then when they redid it, it kind of lost some of that charm for me when they updated it, but I'm going to miss Toys R Us. Just that I still stop in there. I stopped in there today to see. I'm sure a lot of people have stopped lately to see, is there some deals? If they're closing, shouldn't there be deals? There's no deals.
I was curious. Yeah.
I didn't see any deals different than any other day. Not to say there won't be, but so far it hasn't trickled down. This is very recent news.
I feel like I can't think of another comparable. I mean, we can all see the writing on the wall that this is where a lot of these things are going.
What writing? What's happening to retail?
You zone out during this moment. But we're
gonna be fine, right?
I think like all the bookstores that closed, a handful of years ago, Barnes and Noble, that kind of thing. Yeah, I'm like rubbing salt in the wound right now. But yeah, I can't. Is there another kind of a retailer this big, this well known, this many stores that's just said nope, we're done? Like I feel like that's pretty significant.
I feel like Kmart and Sears and like they're all, if not gone, then going.
Well, I feel like a lot of those you've seen closing stores here, closing stores there, so they've kind of done it slowly. I think with Toys R Us it was kind of shocking because it's just like they're all closing.
From what I saw, it had a lot to do with the people that bought them, saddled them with a lot of debt, and then they couldn't work their way out of it. So it's just unfortunate that they caught the brunt of it. I just hate to see it. Toys are fun. I still like just to go in and look at toys. Doesn't matter if I buy anything. It's just fun to look at toys.
And yes, obviously the internet is cheaper and more efficient and simpler on basically everything but comic books. But it's we do lose something, not having a bookstore to go into or a Circuit City to go into and look at what new games or CDs are out or whatever. Like that was an experience that you don't get clicking through Amazon.
I honestly thought a lot of this stuff was coming back. We got a bookstore again, and even Amazon is opening up brick and mortar stores now. So I felt like, they're figuring out. Some people do actually like to go in and handle things and look at them. I like to go in Jordan's shop and look and see what I'm going to buy online. Just really get a feel for it.
And be sure and touch it all and leave it in the wrong place.
Anyway, I just want to bring it up because that's a little sad piece of our area leaving. Going to bother a lot of people probably. So, what category you want to do first?
Start with some comics.
Okay.
How can you read this? There's no pictures.
Well, some people use their imagination.
Well, I must hurry back to my comic book store where I dispense the insults rather than absorb them.
It happens all the time. Read a comic book, okay?
I ran into Seth at the Classic Plastics Toy and Comic Expo a couple weeks back.
Yeah, I saw one of your boys there.
Yeah, I took one of the nephews down. It was a 2-day show this year at the Parkersburg Art Center. It's their 5th anniversary. Tony from Classic Plastics that has moved to the Grand Central Mall now. He is the guy who puts it on, does a really good job, brings in lots of vendors. This year they brought back Timothy Clark, the guy who worked for the Henson Creature Shop back in the 80s, and they did a screening of The Dark Crystal at the Smoot Theater there Saturday night.
It was showing several places.
Yeah, that was one of those Fathom events.
Yeah.
But they had Timothy Clark there, and like the VIPs, there was a Q&A session, like you could ask him questions about it, and that's awesome. That's a super cool event. And the other big name they brought in was Master Daniel Pacina, who was one of the Mortal Kombat game. Was very revolutionary. They did the motion capture, like it looked like a real person, and he did a bunch of those characters. He was Johnny Cage, Sub-Zero, Scorpion. He did the moves that the camera captured.
Mm-hmm. He pulled out the actual spines,
to
get them to do it. Okay, wow,
it's pretty awesome. He pulled my spine out when I walked by the table.
That was an extra $10, but totally worth it.
Yeah, he signed my picture in my blood.
So yeah, brought in some cool people. I found some bargains. I saw you had one major purchase.
Yeah, I bought one comic. It was X-Men. I'm not even positive. 101. I think it was X-Men 101. It's the Phoenix.
You can walk out on the limb. I'm not gonna.
I'm taking a chance. I don't remember the number. I think it's 101, but it's the Jean Grey Phoenix coming up out of the water, blue cover, just a classic. I've been collecting a lot of classic covers lately because I've been beating the drum for us to do our top 10 favorite comic covers, and it's so not going to happen on an audio podcast. But anyway, maybe we'll have some video going on someday and do that because that's kind of the comics I'm collecting right now. So that was my one special purchase.
Nice. Yeah, I didn't spend a ton of money, but I realized. Well, first I had to tell my nephew. I said, now, when we walk through these doors, it is an illusion of how popular I am. Nowhere else on the planet will I go in and everyone's like, hey, Jordan, what's going on, man? But I was like, I'm going to know at least half the people in here, and they're all going to want to talk to me. I was like, that's not real. Like, I'm not that cool in real life.
Don't get sucked into the excitement. Oh, he was floating on a cloud. I said, hey, Jordan. He's like, stand back. Just he's busy. He's looking at comics.
Yeah, I mean, when he got home, he was like, I want to own a comic store someday. I had it sit down and said, no, son, no. That's a terrible idea in this economic climate.
We're scared straight.
Yeah, I had to.
But I realized the people I did buy from, I dug through the dollar bins from Comics and Kicks, which is the shop in St. Mary's, West Virginia. The young man was on our trivia show.
Yeah,
was a fan of the Red Hood, and he got a Jason Todd question.
I remember it well.
So he had a huge run of the Christopher Priest Black Panther books, 2 through 30 something. I bought 2 through 20 because I'd never read it, and I'd always wanted to read it. Right. So I bought a big chunk from him, and then walked a little further around, and I bought something from Corbin, the guy who was on our Spider-Man Homecoming
Mystical
episode.
Intern.
So I literally only bought stuff from people who've been on the podcast. So
let that be a lesson to you.
Exactly. So if you want my money, you got to come out.
We'll soon be investing in the infrastructure of Lower Salem.
Nice.
Oh, Corbin, his company CO Creations or Geek Room on YouTube is where you can find his stuff. So. Yeah, there's lots of friendly faces. It's always a fun time to go down there. I like bringing the young nephew to see what piques his interest and what draws him.
Let me know that Black Panther's the best Marvel movie.
That's what he said.
I was like, that is a great pick. I can totally see it. I made a purchase today. I stopped down at my local comic book store, and I didn't just fingerprint up the merchandise. After hearing this, oh my gosh, the violins playing last podcast, I was like, I better go down there and buy some for this guy before he rolls up the sidewalks.
I feel that's an unintended benefit, but that's not what my intention was.
Anyway, I pulled off. I was like, I want this absolute copy I've been looking at for the last couple years of Identity Crisis.
The only DC book.
The only DC book. No, I have some stuff, but that's my favorite. But I feel like when I've talked about this before, though, I don't get much feedback here. Is there some sort of stain on Identity Crisis, or because, I mean, I love it. Michael's back here with a mouthful of stuff.
What's beating my face? It's because it's so serious. Like all the other crises are like, yeah, I know. Or epic world-spanning, like worlds are dying, and Identity Crisis is such a very personal story.
Right.
That I mean, I don't think that it should ever had crisis in the title.
Well, okay. That's not a good reason. It's because you're saying you don't like it because the expectations, what you thought you were getting because of the name Crisis. You thought.
Yeah, when you. I
know what you're saying.
It has anything to do with crisis. It's huge.
Yeah.
And not to mention, whatever. Anyway, it's such a very personal story.
Yeah.
And it's very well done from A to B. Actually, I think you're the one that...
From A to B?
All the way.
All the way. Everything in between.
A to Z. Aren't you guys glad I'm here?
Go on, though.
I think you were the one that got me to check it out originally. Me being the DC head, but...
It's weird. I remember when it came out, and I'm not a DC guy. I said, Crisis, I don't care. I didn't buy it off the shelves.
Right.
Because, to me, I wasn't interested. If it was like cool murder mystery, character piece, I may have been more interested in it. I only bought it years later.
Is this, just for the newbie, is this the Brad Metzler Elongated Man one?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
There it is.
I have read that one. Okay.
You have read this?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask you. That's why I brought it. I always bring goodies in my bag here. I was going to send you home with that.
I think part of it is the grimdark view of it, that it was, blood and guts, and the character who committed the murders is like a Silver Age favorite that longtime fans didn't want to see turned into a bad guy. So... Well, there's a lot of little reasons people.
If you haven't read it, read it. so I got home tonight and I finished Riverdale, and then I watched. Then I broke it out. And I was like, I'm reading the first issue, see if it's still. I mean, it's been a few years since I read it. Oh my gosh, that first issue is one of the best comic issues I've ever seen.
Is that also not where they find out that they've wiped out the Teen Titans' memory of certain events? Is that tied into that? Or Dr. Light?
Yes.
Yeah,
that's where.
We can't. I mean, I don't want to say. I'm trying to tell people to read it, but I don't want to say no spoilers. It's been freaking many years, but I just love it. I love it. There's been many comics that have done this, but where it's like, okay, 30 minutes from now, and then now, where it jumps around in the story. It's got the different colors for who. I just wonder if this is one of the first ones really did that with different color captions for who was talking or thinking. Yeah. And the Rags Morales art is fantastic. I love some of the expressions just on their face, and to go with knowing nothing. I knew these characters barely, other than the main 5 or 6 or whatever. The other ones I don't know anything about, but I didn't know anything about Ralph Dibny. But within 5 pages, I love Ralph Dibny. It's like it's just so good, and it's so funny and serious, and you're just like hanging moment to moment what's going to happen next.
It kind of reminds me of Alan Moore's run on Marvel Man or Miracle Man, the original. It has some similarities to it. But
I don't know. In fact, I can't remember why I bought it originally, because I picked it up when it came out.
Could have been those Michael Turner covers that are
It probably was.
It
probably was. That Wonder Woman cover, like issue 5 or 6, is a great cover. And it's just like, yeah, I'm sure that was it, probably. That and the hype about Brad. But anyway, it gets my highest recommendation. I love that book, and I'm thrilled to have the Absolute Edition. And keep Jordan open.
At a lovely bargain price.
Yes, it was a great deal.
Forgotten about the X-Men Grand Design by Ed Piscor. Did I do it right?
I think so. I'm not entirely sure.
Okay. Well, I want to get it right because he liked my status.
Oh, really?
On Instagram. I got the first 2 issues of Grand Design, and I was very sad that...
Did you tag him in it or something, or just...
I think I tagged X-Men Grand Design in it.
Okay.
And he must have been following that. So.
He's just constantly refreshing to see who's talking about it.
But
this is the guy that did Hip Hop Family Tree, traced kind of the legacy of hip hop through the 80s in comic book form.
Why do I not own that?
I wondered that myself, but
so yeah, he's doing this epic spanning to the history of the X-Men, start to present day, from what I understand. Mm-hmm. And 2 issues are out, and then it was so sad because on the last page, instead of in 2 weeks, it's like coming in 2018 or something. Mm. So I guess he's working on it right now. But this was a great deep dive into Marvel history and legacy. Like, if anyone is a huge Marvel fan, they should go read this book, because it pulls information all the ways going back to when the Namor fought the Human Torch over New York City, and they rationalized why people had a problem with mutants, even like starting that far back. But yeah, it's drawn very well. It's even got that iconic kind of retro feel to it with the page coloring and design. Like, go out and read it.
Yeah, just a couple of comic things. Some Stan Lee news has been blowing up here lately with he's been battling pneumonia, and we're not quite sure of his health status, but a lot of creators have been coming out and tweeting and trying to raise awareness that he might not be surrounded by the best people at the moment.
Did you read that article?
I did, yeah. So I believe the quote was, "picked apart by vultures." So allegedly, we don't know really, but there's people who've come in his potentially final days who have come in. There's been real estate deals, wire transfers. There's been some loans taken out through his company's name that weren't really loans. So
I even saw where that, like, the old Stan Lee Powell company was like trying to re-register his name.
And I'm sure he has no clue on the business side what's happening. So it's, obviously we don't have any facts, but a lot of people in the industry are trying to shine a light on it right now, saying, pay attention to what's happening because this old guy is being treated horribly at the moment. So, and they put out...
I hadn't heard anything about that.
Well, they released the video on TMZ of him on a couch saying, I'm doing okay, true believers. And it was hard to watch. He, battling pneumonia and very hard to breathe. And it was basically, I said it felt almost like a hostage video where he's like, everything's great, I'm not in any trouble. And you don't know who put him up to that and who said, get out there and say you're fine. So I don't know any details. It's all alleged, but it's really sad to see a guy that we all kind of idolize struggling like that. But on happier news, at South by Southwest, they were throwing away red underwear into the crowd.
I was gonna go eat some more. Whoa. Red underwear.
Hashtag the trunks are back. If you went to South by Southwest, Jim Lee was there and did a panel, and they were throwing out trunks and then boxer shorts with the hashtag the trunks are back written on the backside of them. So with the yellow waistband, trying to hype people up for Superman or Action 1000.
Totally dig it.
Did it work? Anybody care?
I care.
He jumped. He went to leave and he jumped right back in the seat.
I was actually stopped in Jordan's store as well today, asking about Action Comics 1000. And
when is that?
April.
And did I see something about they're gonna let you? I don't know if you're gonna do it, but they're letting stores sell it on Tuesday.
Yeah, there's such hype around it. They're gonna do the midnight release like they've done a couple of times on the big things.
Are you gonna do it?
I doubt it. Unless you guys want a podcast live at midnight.
I don't know about that night, but we need to do another one of those sometime.
As long as you're all wearing red underwear.
Yeah.
And I'll wear nothing else.
Yeah.
We're not doing it.
They also announced in the immediate aftermath of Black Panther, the artist Tom Belland, he did the kind of relationship comic True Story, Swear to God. He did the famous piece of art that had two young African-American kids looking up at the poster and saying, "That's me." I'm sure we all saw that on social media. He said it was shared over 10,000 times. And Marvel contacted him and turned that into a variant cover. So when Black Panther #1 comes out, you can have that art on one of the covers that really touched people there and very immediately. The other thing, the Hulk is back. You picked that issue up today. I don't know if you've read it yet.
But the cover kind of gives it away.
Paging.
So there's weekly Avenger story that's been going on. They've been hinting that Hulk was coming back, and this last issue of Avengers is when he did, and he's now the Immortal Hulk. So, not giving away what that means, but it's a darker turn on the character, and Banner is much less in control. So
Well, I was just talking about the Hulk the other day with my son Jordan, because he's been watching all the Marvel movies in the order of this list.
He's doing the Bucky?
I think he is doing the Bucky, but he didn't know who Mr. Hyde was, and I said, well, you know Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, and he had never heard of those two people. I was like, did they not show you this in school? Like I was just befuddled.
What class do they...
That was a recess day.
It's like, did you never learn about the great classics? I was shocked and appalled. So I had to explain that the Hulk is kind of an amalgamation of the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, and Frankenstein. And I was telling him the history of those characters, and because he didn't understand on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. who Hyde was.
So we've had another couple, just a couple big issues that have come out lately. Amazing Spider-Man, the last two storylines. Dan Slott is ending his run. I believe he is the longest tenured Spider-Man writer now in history. He started in issue 648 in 2010, and we're now to about 800. So he has written a ton of Spider-Man the last couple of years. And the story Threat Level Red was solicited as bringing Norman Osborn back. Well, the last time we saw him, Spider-Man had used technology to keep his goblin impulses in check, and he couldn't turn into the goblin, and he was wasn't insane anymore. And at the end of it, he pulls out a little vial containing a red symbiote. And he used the Carnage symbiote to like go in and eat all the nanobots that was keeping him safe. So the Green Goblin merged with Carnage, and people flipped out because no one knew it was coming.
I'm excited!
Yeah. It's like there's a lot of Carnage fans, and he's not been around for a while. So that book skyrocketed on eBay. Nobody had enough of them.
So that's what the Red Goblin is.
So that is, Threat Level Red was the first storyline, and now Go Down Swinging just started, which is, the return of Norman Osborn, a crazy Norman Osborn trying to out-crazy the Carnage symbiote. So that's been pretty exciting here with Spider-Man. And Marvel's also doing the Infinity Countdown at the moment. The Infinity Gems are back in continuity. Wolverine's got one. Who else has got one? Ms. Marvel's got one. Super Skrull has got one.
You get a gem.
Yeah, everybody gets a gem.
Check under your seat, Jared.
So with this Infinity War movie coming, we're bringing the gems back, and everybody's fighting everybody for them. So that's kind of what Marvel's going to be gearing toward here in the next couple months.
Now, did anyone here collect the original Infinity Gauntlet?
Not as it was coming out, but I bought it later.
Like, I remember that on these stands, and it was cool.
Yeah, I remember having it, selling it, and I've just got to trade now.
I'm sure we'll talk about the trailer later, but
Yes.
a lot of very familiar moments from that trailer. We also had Jim Henson's Labyrinth, Coronation from Boom Studios. 12-issue series. They're retelling the history of Jareth the Goblin King. So it's a flashback. You see him as a baby, lost in the Goblin realm, where that's the whole thing. If you're, the goblins kidnap children, and then if you're not rescued, you become a goblin, right? Am I remembering?
That sounds right.
The continuity.
It's been a long
So
time.
this is the story of Jareth's mom trying to rescue him from the labyrinth, like Jennifer Connelly did, but obviously she's going to fail at it. So it starts with him as an adult remembering back of the his origin. So it's all Jim Henson approved. So if you're a fan of the Labyrinth and haven't always wondered more about it, that's out now. And last one, Oblivion Song #1 by Robert Kirkman and Lorenzo De Felici. This is the Walking Dead writer, very famous gentleman.
Heard of it.
His new sci-fi story is basically, I think it was like a decade ago, a big chunk of Philadelphia just disappeared into another dimension. And no one knows why or what happened or where everyone went. And at this beginning, the government mounted rescue operations and sent people over to try and rescue people. And as the years have drug on, they've just given up because they weren't finding very many survivors. But there's one guy left who every day is making trips into this other dimension, trying to find survivors and very hard-headedly not giving up. And we learn a little bit about his backstory. So that is the next one from Image Comics. That's their big push this year, and Mr. Kirkman.
Cool. Let's do streaming.
There's something very important I forgot to tell you.
What?
Don't cross the streams.
Islands in the stream, that is what we are.
Cross the streams.
I actually said streaming in my head. However, if
right.
no one has said streaming, that's what
I've been like, what a stupid idea. What have you been watching then, if it's in your
Well,
head?
that Joel McHale show that we all gave up on,
Yeah?
it's actually gotten better.
Okay.
Fourth episode, he's got his stride. I actually laughed out loud to my
Whoa.
wife's dismay.
Your wife hates your joy.
Well, I may have made her mad at the moment, and I was laughing. So. But yeah, it had that. It still has that same vibe of just like when it was on E, but they were all firing on all cylinders, and it's pretty good by the fourth episode.
I may check out an episode sometime again. I watched Cliff and I's favorite streaming show, Love. As nobody else has watched this. If you have Netflix, you have to watch
What
this show.
season is it on?
There's only 3 seasons.
Okay, I've watched the first 2.
Okay. Well, they just came out with the 3rd season, and it's just very, very good. And anyway, moment I really laughed at, because it's just showing, like, you know, relationships, but you're like, okay, here's the girl driving they're going to meet somewhere. They've had 2 totally different days. You know, it's kind of what you bring to the moment, but she's driving there, like, listening to some upbeat music or whatever, and the guy's leaving work and he's listening to, it's just so me.
John Denver.
No, he's listening to a film podcast. And I'm like, that is so me. Let's not have any fun in the car. We're just gonna digest more film news, you know. So I just thought that was so funny. Cliff and I hadn't talked about it. I'm sure he gobbled it up too, but it's just so good. And one of the best ideas ever. If there was a band that actually did this, I would go to their shows. But the guy has a band and has the whole time, but they rarely touch on it. But he has a band that only plays. It's all originals. They write theme songs to movies without theme songs, and it is so good. Oh my gosh! So sing about Sully. And just like, you know, I like trying to figure out, you know, how quickly you can figure out what movie they're singing about. What they said, I didn't come to chuck a little, I came to chuck a lot. Oh, so good. Anyway, watch Love, and there's more than one thing called Love on Netflix, so it's the funny one.
Gotcha.
Anybody watch Jessica Jones? It came out. Okay. Well, you're probably doing all right if you haven't. Michael, did you watch any Jessica Jones yet? No.
Yeah, have you?
I watched 3 episodes. That's probably good enough for me.
I've heard not so great things.
It's not terrible, but it has the exact same problem I've complained about every time. I look at it and see that there's 13 episodes and it is not happening.
Yeah,
8 episodes is what all these series should be. Again, the beauty of Netflix is it does not have to be any certain length.
That's what I was telling. We were talking about. Wasn't Defenders like 8 episodes?
Yes. And it was still.
That seemed okay. I mean, it wasn't great, but I was okay with that. I think they should all be.
But yeah, I finished it because it was 8 episodes. Yeah.
And I like Jessica Jones season 1. My big complaint with it is that it was too much. And it was too much of just kind of the same thing and everything. She never had a case the entire 13 episodes. Mm-hmm. Like a little bit of procedural, like would have been okay of like having her have a case for an episode and do something, you know, and then in the background is the serialization of her, the whole Kilgrave thing. But like, why couldn't she have taken a couple cases? It was literally just the same thing for 13 hours.
I totally agree. It needed that. It needed that. A couple short cases in the middle. And I liked the first season.
Yeah, I did.
Overall, you know, David Tennant made it. You know, that was a good season. But that's the best season of any of these shows, you know, any of the Netflix superhero shows.
Yeah, I started Daredevil season 2 is where I am. But I got halfway, like the Punisher arc basically ends up about halfway and then Elektra shows up. Well, I stopped because it felt like and I'm like, well, I'll get back to that. And it's been a month and I haven't watched the next episode. So
it's too long. They're trying to. It's not like they're trying to do too much. They're just trying to stretch it out too far.
They're pulling a Bendis with the TV shows,
basically.
Anyway, Kristen Ritter in some interview said she didn't expect a Defenders season 2. Like they're not planning on doing that.
I did read where she got like, by doing her own stunts, she almost bit off her own tongue.
Wow.
She got jacked in the jaw when she was supposed to weave or whatever, and she didn't. And I was reading an article about it, and she basically had bumps and bruises and just had to play through it.
I think, well, I saw some comments the OJ made on Facebook, and he was saying that I don't think he was too in love with it either. He had watched most of the season at the time, and kind of the vibe I got from the first season also. They're going with this character of her as this tough, drinking. I don't even remember that so much from the comics. She was not totally out of control, just so rough.
Yeah.
She's too rough. I don't know.
I mean, there's just been no growth or change.
No,
It's
there
just,
is no change with her character ever. So anyway, I'm done. 3 episodes was enough for me.
Seth doesn't like his women rough.
There's too much good stuff to watch. And no, trust me, I like Kristen Ritter. She's not the problem. I did see that Annabella Sciorra, I'm not sure how to say her last name. Remember, she was, was in several movies years ago. She's going to play a villainess in season 2 of Luke Cage. So, I don't know whether everybody knows the name Rosalie Carbone. The Carbone crime family was introduced in Punisher. And anyway, she's going to be on Luke Cage. That's coming this summer. And does anybody else have any streaming?
Is there anything new of Marvel that they're doing, or are they just going to keep doing sequels to the Defenders characters? Have they announced anything?
Is that shade you're talking? Or you're like...
No, I'm just curious.
Are you guys doing anything else?
Well, I mean, if Disney's doing their streaming on a different thing, I guess they wouldn't want to start new characters.
Yeah, I highly doubt they're planning on doing anything else. They're going to lose all.
My only streaming news is that Peer Pressure works.
Oh.
And I now can stream things.
Yay.
I was excoriated on the last episode and teased mercilessly.
Welcome to my world.
I didn't like it.
Me either.
About how I can't DVR things, and I got to watch commercials, and I got to wait to go to the bathroom. And my VCR only works.
Infection, so I'm waiting on that.
Welcome to the 20th century.
Analog man.
I have signed up. I now have a high definition television.
Oh, Dolores.
What the hell is a sticky maple?
Run, Barry, run! That's what I do. I dream, and I know things.
Go get him, Supergirl.
Well, what does this guy look like, anyway?
Oh, he's a little guy, kind of funny looking.
Uh-huh. In what way?
Oh, just in a general kind of way.
Exterminate!
Little pig, let me in.
These violent delights have violent ends.
That's what she said.
Groovy.
And a DVR that can record. It's color TV. And I have.
Remote?
It has a remote control with many buttons on it. And I have streaming Wi-Fi capabilities and a Netflix password, and I'm good to go. I will have more to say on streaming.
That's
because
awesome.
I don't like being left behind.
That's great. On there for Hulu.
Ooh.
Now you're gonna. So you have DVR. You can now record stuff. You can pause live.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is being recorded right this second while we're sitting here.
That's the wrong use for this.
Yeah, I thought my very first ever TiVo.
So there's something about power and responsibility, Jordan.
Now, did you go for the upgrade with the stars?
I got free Showtime and free Netflix for a year.
Did you get free HBO?
I don't know. I haven't checked yet.
You should have free. I signed up for it as well.
I can watch Westworld.
But you should have free HBO, free Cinemax, and free Showtime for a year. However, I did sign up for the extra package of stars because Ash vs. Evil Dead Season 3 is out.
Now I'm all excited you're going to watch Westworld.
Ooh. See, that's the peer pressure
Jared,
I felt.
did you watch Westworld?
I watched the first 2 episodes when I was getting it free for whatever reason, and then I didn't see any after that.
That first season is magic. I can't wait for Jordan to freaking finish watching it.
I don't really need to. I heard the podcast.
You didn't listen to him. I know better.
You called my bluff.
Well, don't listen to him as you watch. I'll tell you that, because I wouldn't recommend anybody listen to those episodes and watch because we spoiled the crap out of that. Because we didn't know we were. We just happened to be right. So.
And you'll bring it up any chance you get.
Exactly.
Larry, don't remember that.
Let's go on to TV. We got there.
Well, how we were just talking about having cable and stuff, like I do too as well now, and I was super.
We're all fine here. How are you?
I was super excited. Tuesday night, my wife turns on The Flash. I no longer have to wait till the next day to watch everything. And now I can officially say not everything is streaming.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, with my old dish, I didn't get CW, and this one I do, so I can be more up on the CW shows.
However, for some reason, the CW is not HD. Whatever.
I can't handle that. I'm strictly HD now. Yeah. I can't go back.
Riverdale in standard definition? Ugh. Well, let's stay on Westworld here for a second, because while we're talking TV, you were talking South by Southwest and the red underwear, but
I saw, after you mentioned this, I saw another article saying this was the best thing any festival's ever done.
They did a pop-up, HBO did, which they've normally done Game of Thrones, but this year there's no Game of Thrones, so they did a Westworld pop-up, and they like bust people like 30 minutes outside of Austin, because that's where South by Southwest is.
There's real actual cowboys out there.
And they took them to like, I got the drip, it's kind of a Brady Bunch ghost town type thing, but it was pretty epic, I guess. They had, upwards of 50, 60 actors, acting like Western people, acting like robots, acting like, the whole deal. You could go in, you got to go through.
Robots acting like people, or people acting like robots?
Well, they're actors acting like
robots
acting like you got it.
Gotcha.
And they went there and got their black hat or white hat and went in, and you could interact with these actors who I guess they really played the roles well. No matter what you did, it was fine, and you got to rape and murder them.
Is this Russia?
No, but you can sit down at a table and play poker. The guy you're playing against might end up in a fight and then come sit back down and continue his game. And they all would like give you information, and you were trying to like figure out an overall story. It's just promoting the show, but I guess they really had a good experience, and they got to see something the story would take you to see behind the scenes into Delos and see them working on the robots, and it just sounds great. And it got me super excited for Batu or Bust and Disney doing this Star Wars experience. If this is an HBO pop-up that people were that excited about and had that much fun, imagine what the heck they're doing in Disney.
I wonder, did you hear anything did they film it all and stuff, so you'll get some Blu-ray extra in the coming years of the behind the scenes of putting it together, that kind of thing, because that would be interesting.
That would be. I didn't hear that, but I saw some Instagram videos that people had took while they were there. They got people yelling at them and stuff, but it sounded like a really good experience, and I would love.
Can you guns that they could shoot at them and they would have to?
I said you could kill people. Anyway, and I saw a comment from Evan Rachel Wood talking about season 2, and just saying that as they're filming, she had seen things like, oh my gosh, now things in season 1 that are right in front of your face, you don't know what it means for season 2. And she's, I feel like I figured everything out. What's she talking about?
That was directly to you.
I know.
Be like,
that's
hey,
what
people
said.
who think you figured everything out.
I wonder why she was looking right into the camera. Anyway, that's exciting me. So good.
Come out and play.
I'll let you do one.
Clarissa Explains It All is coming back.
Oh my gosh, Whatever.
Melissa Joan Hart, they called it a very Fuller House types thing, where she's coming back now as an adult with her own kids, returning as Clarissa Darling from the beloved Nickelodeon show from the 90s.
Aww.
This is my worst nightmare. I just say, I loved all the 80s nostalgia, and now we've got past that. Now it's the next generation, and I'm just like, oh my God, I don't care about Clarissa.
I cared deeply about Clarissa.
That same age when she was very cute.
What an empty show. Tell me one plot line. Oh,
there was the one where she had to explain all this stuff that was happening.
She had an annoying brother.
Ferguson was being annoying. The kid was coming in through the window.
Going on. Yeah, we all. That's it.
He probably could. I don't know.
You guys.
Her brother?
Yes, the redheaded kid.
Yeah.
And apparently there's the show creator wrote a novel or something years later talking about like in the future, and he was like in prison for
Like
insider trading
like
or something.
Oh, okay, no.
No, it was like
It was out around the same time as Blossom.
It's after
around
Blossom.
I loved Melissa Joan Hart or Clarissa. I couldn't tell.
Are you nodding that he did, or you both
he did? Yeah. I mean, we grew up watching Clarissa Explains It All. Okay, and then we grew up, and all of a sudden this guy is like into Sabrina, like you wouldn't believe. I'm like, what is this show?
Is he like cats? No, wait, no. Yeah, I can take her or leave her.
She's become a little different in her later years.
Well, she'll be attached to this, I'm sure. Yeah. So it'll be exactly like you said. It'll be Full House.
It was smarter than a lot of these shows. Full House everyone loves, but it was very silly. This show, like, it tackled a few teen. Oh no!
Sell it.
No.
Was it like in Saved by the Bell when they did the caffeine pills?
They didn't do it would do things like that, but joke at them. Like, it would make fun of the more serious thing. Not terribly, but I can't describe it. It was the 90s, man. It was the 90s.
They were on another level, man. He would explain it to us, but
I have to mention.
I can't explain it all. I'm not Clarissa.
That's how I set you up.
There's one thing you mentioned, Saved by the Bell, and I guess technically this is under streaming, so I'm going to pull my.
No, that's fine.
Switch
I'll allow it.
Here.
Time out.
Whoa! He'll allow you.
I think maybe it started on Funny or Die or something, so maybe it's old news. I don't know, but my wife and I watched it this week and like cracked up the entire time. It's called Zach Morris's Trash. I don't know if you've seen it.
I've seen the icon.
Yeah, it's like these little 5-minute like kind of shorts. And they take an episode of Saved by the Bell, probably one that we all know and love, and it just like very quickly like runs through how and why Zach Morris is like the worst human that ever lived. And it's like, okay, to recap, Zach stuffed his friend in a locker, and it's like shows Screech is like probably causing spinal damage, and then it goes through and it's like he manipulated this girl, he sexually assaulted this girl, he fooled these nerds out of all their hard-earned money, and it's like goes through the whole plot line, and then it's just Zach Morris's Trash is like the theme song, and it's incredibly funny. So if you're a fan of Saved by the Bell, I recommend you watch that.
That sounds good.
Because it just
quality recommendation.
Yeah, it lays out like all the ways that Zach Morris is the absolute worst.
Where did you say it was? I feel like I saw it on Prime.
I think it's on Prime.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah, right before we started recording, we were talking about TV shows where we hate the main character.
Yeah,
and where the main character, like Riverdale, is the weakest link. So there's another example.
Way to bring it around to something we didn't talk about on air. I saw some talk about Game of Thrones. Next year we're going to have the final season, but they had the table read for the final season, and someone let out in an interview just saying how big of a deal it was. Everybody sat there. No one had got to read the script. Everybody was reading it, and as it was epically coming to its conclusion, a lot of people were dying. So, spoiler, a lot of people are going to... Not that that's any stretch. Game of Thrones, everybody seems to die. So, and that they were so into it when it was over, they just all get applauded for like 15 minutes. They were just like how good they thought it was. So, I love Game of Thrones, so I'm excited. And they were talking about their spinoffs. There's going to be some sort of spinoff. If you've ever read any of the books, they talk about these other characters and adventures they were on. I'm sure there's like several different spinoffs that they're working on going to do whenever this show's over. But talking about the budget and like these episodes in the final season are going to, each one, there's going to be 6, and there'll be $15 million episodes, each one of them, which is, nobody does that. But I'm sure that they're not worried though about these spinoffs looking worse. I mean, you have to have them up to that par, but because they won't pay, they'll be like nobody actors, so I'm sure that it won't be a big problem. But I'm excited for that too. Did you watch Atlanta this week?
Yes,
I just watched it before we came here. That was a good episode.
I'm enjoying this season. Yeah.
At first, I wasn't sure about this. It's like But he goes out with his girlfriend. He's got some money. Got a good check. Goes out with his girlfriend and is trying to spend this money, and the tribulations of being a African American and people trusting you with money. And it was really good.
I'm sure some of these are heightened.
For
humor, but there's got to be a kernel of truth in these. Of like, if this is what a significant portion of the population has to go through on a daily basis, it's like,
It was so good, and just being fleeced at the strip club was hilarious. Just like, anyway, that's still a good show. It's not my favorite show. I think it really gets a lot of critical acclaim, maybe more than I think. It kind of feels like they act like they're working at a level that I'm like, really? Is it really this high bar that they're setting?
I want more Lakeith Stanfield.
Yeah.
Is that the characters? Like, he could be the whole show to me, and I would love it. But I think just getting a little taste of his craziness every episode is good enough.
Yeah, it's good. Got anything else?
Walking Dead?
Oh, Walking Dead. I think I sat on fast forward.
Yeah, I need someone to explain what happened at the end of the last episode.
I just sat on fast forward. I watched it, but I didn't hear any dialogue, so I had no idea what was going on.
I think
The guy got shot.
Many people were shot. We haven't talked about 2 episodes, and the first episode, it was back to the dump and all those people.
Ugh.
And for some reason, Rick needs these people. He just keeps going back there, like, "Whoa, we gotta have them." The same way they're doing with the people near the water. All the women and they got the guns from, like, I don't know, we can't leave them alone. We've got to get. I laughed so hard. They had Aaron and Enid, the girl.
Yeah,
they went there.
Like, zoned out during that.
And he was like, "You've got to get back home. I'm gonna stay." And she's like, "Why?" And he's like, "I just need to." Like, he couldn't explain it. And then she laughed.
The script was just like, just forget him, just go.
But if you have it saved, like, go back and watch this scene, because she leaves and he goes and walks around behind a tree and then, like, kneels down. And he's just staring. And it made me laugh so hard. Like, that was his idea of, like, staking the place out, was, like, kneeling behind a tree and, like, just peeking around a tree. Like, they barely got away without being killed. And they're like, I know, I'm going to stick around. They won't see me behind this tree.
He doesn't climb a tree. He just kneels it.
So then this last one, Father Gabriel, who has been infected by all the zombie guts.
Oh, really?
He is getting the doctor out of the Savior's area and trying to prove to him that there's someone looking out for him, and that there's a reason this is all happening, and there's a reason they're together. And then at the end, something bad happens, and I swear I thought the doctor grabbed the guy's gun and killed himself. And then I was watching Comic Book Men later and caught the last 5 minutes of the show, and I was like, wait, did he get killed or did he kill himself? And I don't really care.
Yeah, I interpreted it as he tried to grab the gun to, like, it was about, like, we're gonna do this or whatever, and then the other guy shot him, and that's why he yelled, like, oh, you killed the doctor, you idiot. So I don't. Yeah, it was
so shoddily directed that it didn't make very much sense, but. So I don't know. That Negan's new plan is to contaminate all the weapons with zombie guts to attack people.
Lucille was covered in guts.
To attack people, and not just injure them, but infect them as well. So that's the next big.
That's comic-y.
How do you?
I remember that.
With zombie guts.
If you get a wound or something, and or a zombie bites you, you turn into a zombie. So if
somebody hits you with something
hit with a bat,
with zombie guts, it's gonna.
Or zombie blood, and it'll infect.
Yeah, trying to infect people is like a psychological thing of.
Psychological warfare. The thing about, and I don't want to spend too much time on this, but, like, the last couple episodes, they've done a lot of Negan stuff where he's like, we save people, kind of like doing that kind of stuff, and I that still drives me nuts. That Negan's been around now for like 4 years, and they've still just fundamentally failed to, like, do anything interesting with that concept of what the Saviors are. Like, they'll mention it every once in a while, but, like, everything they've ever done is just show up and, like, kill people. And it's like there is a kernel of something interesting there, like, it's the concept of them, like, we'll protect you from all these things out here trying to kill you. You just have, it's about giving up your liberty for security. but like the show never even came close to like even trying to address that or make it that interesting.
This last episode, he's like, that's all we're trying to do is protect people. I'm like, since when?
You never, like, literally, all they've ever done is just show up and shoot people and hit people with bats. And it's like, that could have been an interesting story. To show up and say, like, no, this is the way the world is now. We protect you from all the bad things. Now you give us all your stuff, and then have people say, you know what, that makes sense. I don't need liberty, I need security, so I'll go with you. And it's like they never even tried to explore. I don't know if the comic did that better, but like they never tried to explore that concept. That to me,
this is the best. This is the best explanation I've heard so far.
Yeah, so that just drives me nuts. That anytime they're like, "Yeah, we're the Savior," I was like, "No, you're not. You just go around killing people, and that's all the show ever tried to make you."
They're trying to scare people into staying in line. But for what?
It's like they just made him like a dictator. I'm like, they should have. They're like the mob, right? You're like paying them for protection. That's what they should have made them more like the mafia than just like a dictator who just kills people. Like that would have been a more interesting thing for me. But at this point, it's like he's just been around for 3 years, and at some point somebody's gonna kill him, and we'll move on from there. And it's like that's not as interesting to me. So I would say I am enjoying like Maggie though on the show. Is about the only interesting thing happening with her kind of like struggles with leadership and what she's doing with all these prisoners, and like so that to me is one kind of saving grace of the watching the show now, is that I am kind of interested, and I think she's doing good work on the show, and her character is like kind of growing into this leader position that she's never been in, and it's at least something they're doing.
And that is comic related.
Okay.
I have a question about zombie guts again.
Oh my gosh.
If you wash your feet really well, you won't be infected.
Didn't in Fear of the Walking Dead, didn't the son like cover himself in like zombie?
Well,
but if you have to have an open wound or something.
Well, like in the original Walking Dead, right at the beginning, they put on ponchos and cover. So that's been, online fans like, oh, why do they always walk around with zombie guts? Like that's been a constant. If that works, why don't they do it every time? So that this Father Gabriel has been sick lately, and it was from doing that. They escaped a horde by covering themselves, and he got really badly infected. So they've at least finally tried to answer, walking around with decaying flesh all over you would not solve all your problems.
24 hours a day. Yeah.
Okay.
Movies.
Save Martha! Puny God. I'm just a kid from Brooklyn. I'm Batman.
Kneel before Zod!
On the roof! Said it yourself, bitch. We're the Guardians of the Galaxy.
So what's it gonna be, huh? Long sullen silence? Or mean comment? Go on.
You got me in a box here.
Guys, I got to finally watch Black Panther.
Wow. What month did that come out?
I don't know. I'm lucky I got to see it. I took my son to see it.
Did you like it?
It's freaking sweet. Like, DC should be looking at it going, oh, is that how you do a Batman movie? Like, there's nothing wrong with that movie at all, from A to B to C
oh, wow.
to C.
Man.
Like, that was a good movie. And the cast was awesome. I mean, it was...
Making you excited for maybe some Infinity War?
This is what made my son Jordan start watching it back from, because he's like, then he saw the thing about the Infinity, so he's been doing all these movies, watching it all in continuity.
That's why I saw somebody point out how insane that is to sit down to watch Black Panther, and there's a trailer for the next movie starring Black Panther. These are happening so fast that you haven't even watched the movie, and you're already getting a teaser for the next appearance.
Yeah, so we added a trailer 2 today, which didn't, you were saying there's some moments that stuck out to you.
Yeah, I kind of watched it with one eye covered.
Yeah.
Like
I did not watch it.
I had heard that it wasn't too spoilery, and I didn't feel like it was too spoilery.
It's, if you wanted to break it down, like I talked to a customer this week who had obviously broken it down because he was trying to explain
frame
to me
by frame.
Right, which order Thanos got the gems, how many gems he has, where he got them.
How much did he buy?
Not enough, evidently.
He didn't cross the threshold, let's say. But to me, I don't need to know those details. Like Thanos is here. That's all I need to know. So I didn't want to watch this trailer real in depth, but it did. Yeah, it didn't spoil anything, but it was a good taste of this is going to be huge.
Yeah,
and if you've read Infinity Gauntlet, there are a few. Yeah, he talks about the snap of his fingers and that kind of thing.
That's what I heard in the trailer. That I was like, it was something to the effect of the people of Earth or something was going to get cut in half or something like that to effect, and that is a complete throwback to that.
And this is March 16th. They put the trailer out and tickets went on sale today for April 27th or whatever. So I got my tickets.
And I remember many moons ago you saying you hoped a certain moment was involved.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I wish I hadn't been in the trailer of Captain America standing up to him. So.
Yep. There's that page. I mean, you can see it, and I hope there's at least a line or two in there that match up pretty good. But yeah, I'm excited for that. I can't wait. But yeah, I got my Michael told us how great IMAX was. I don't know if anybody remembers.
King Kong Skull
Island. I saw Kong Skull Island on IMAX as well. I don't know if I ever.
I've never heard that.
Yeah.
Did it make it a better movie?
Yes, because I was like, that's pretty great. And then I looked back and like, it probably wasn't that great of a movie, but I was into it.
Yeah, I didn't like it.
Because I've heard everyone that watched it not in IMAX and like,
Well, I have never, as many movies as I've seen, I've never seen an IMAX movie. Because, one, there's too many, most of them are in 3D. I hate 3D. So anyway, I found some tickets on sale in Columbus that weekend. Good seats, IMAX 2D. I'm ready. I am psyched. If I'm ever going to do it, this is the movie. I want to see it as best as possible.
That's a good one.
I'm ready.
And I heard Josh Brolin, that's playing Thanos, is also playing Cable in Deadpool 2. And evidently it's going through some heavily reshoots. It's not getting...
I've heard conflicting things of like, test audiences hated it, and then they came out and said, well, no, they just wanted to add more Domino and more Cable because they love those characters so much. So who knows what the true story is, but there's definitely reshoots, but what movie doesn't have reshoots?
And that goes into the creator of Deadpool. I know this goes back to streaming, but suck it. Goes back to...
Comes out swinging.
Rob Liefeld, who created Deadpool, he has had this resurgence from this movie that has remade his career. He has sold his whole Extreme...
Is he an artist now?
On Sundays. He sold all his Extreme characters to Netflix. So now Netflix has Mark Miller World, and they have all of Ron... See... Can't even do it twice. Rob Liefeld is the characters to play with in their sandbox.
I don't usually crack that often, but my God. Michael and I each saw a movie separately. What did we see? What did we both see, Michael? Game Night!
Ah, yes!
Does that not sound like a movie I would watch? Game Night.
Had Seth written all over it.
It's got Jason Bateman.
Very, very well casted. Very well acted.
It was very enjoyable. I would recommend it to anybody to go see it, just for a fun movie.
And like I had pointed out, I immediately picked up on, because I like a lot of electronic music. It has a complete electronic music soundtrack. It's really well done. And the composer of that also did the Den of Thieves it's a recent movie. I think it's Den of Thieves.
I don't know if it's something Thieves. Yeah, you're probably right. You're probably right.
Something similar to that.
Yeah,
but anyway.
It was good. Very, very enjoyable movie.
And the part that you were talking about towards the end where she's like, Yay! Oh no.
There was a lot of references and stuff when she did the Pulp Fiction thing. They're standing in a bar. She's just nicely talking to Jason Bateman, and she takes a gun and turns around and does the all right. She just said it's awesome. Okay, I saw another movie. I went and saw Annihilation.
Is it good?
I wouldn't like recommend it to only certain people. It's very serious sci-fi. I mean, I enjoyed it, but it's some hardcore sci-fi, and like it's not fun. This is no game night.
I found this movie hard to kind of discern from the trailers because like I think they did one kind of teaser trailer that was like it made it look real kind of like trippy psychological thing, and then they did another one where it looked like they were just fighting giant monsters, and it's like I don't know what this is or what it's supposed to be.
I still don't know what it is. I mean that's Ex Machina director Alex Garland, so I was like psyched, and I'm it doesn't live up to that for me. Natalie Portman was great, but it had a real Arrival feel to it. I think I enjoyed Arrival better, but it was just the same kind of plot. It's like something's here, and she has to go. These group of women have to go interact with it, and it had a lot of good parts to it. I mean, I'm sure you'll watch it someday, but it's not something you have to go to the theater to see. It's just very hardcore sci-fi.
We are halfway through March, and I will let you know I have not watched a single movie on my poster in the month of March. So
I was going to ask.
I was so far ahead, and now I've fallen back.
I was going to ask you what you had watched, because I started watching a bunch of Alfred Hitchcock. I was just like, okay, well, you said you'd watch Rear Window, which is one of my favorite movies. And I was like, I'm going to just try to watch pretty much everything. I can't even remember which ones I'd seen in the past, so I kind of was starting all the way back. I've watched there's some rough stuff back there.
You watch Dial M for Murder? That's my favorite.
I own that.
That's my favorite.
I've seen that several times. That's in my, I'm sure top 5 Alfred Hitchcock. But yeah, I have that. It says it has a 3D capability too. If you had a 3D TV, I'm like Dial M for Murder. I don't even understand, but
it
apparently
takes place all in one room.
How I don't know, but I don't have a 3D TV anyway. But that's the only reason I would want one, because I want to see what this disc does. But yeah, that's a great movie. I remember there was a movie with Michael Douglas.
Perfect Murder.
Yeah. And I remember watching that and then going and watching Dial M for Murder, which is a superior movie, but I love it. But I've watched Saboteur and Suspicion, old Cary Grant one. He's in many Alfred Hitchcock movies. But there's some stuff back there that's not bad, but you can kind of see him developing into some of the bigger movies.
And I had a correction from when we did the February list, where I was talking about Intolerance, the movie made in 1918, and I said one segment was set in Vichy, France, which is completely incorrect because that's World War II era.
20 years after the movie was made, correct?
But my brain, I was thinking the Medici family, and I said Vichy like an idiot.
What a faux pas.
But that was during the reign of Catherine de Medici in the 1500s.
Obviously.
That was the era, and I thought Medici, and I said Vichy. So, please stop tweeting about it. I'm sorry. I can only apologize so much.
The comments on that mistake are crazy.
We've had too many people calling for a stoning. Oh my! I didn't want to say anything. I'll say one other thing that happened at South by Southwest was they premiered Ready Player One, which we're all scared to death to watch. Whether it's going to be good or not. I like the book, even though it's just a pop culture bonanza.
I just finished the book a couple weeks ago. Jordan had given it to me, and that's how I've now read the book.
Oh, yeah. So. But, I read it before.
All 4 of us in this room have read the same book.
Wow, well, I listened to it.
Oh, he listened to it.
Same.
That's good enough. That counts. That counts. No, we're not doing. But So what do you think of it? I want color your
I
opinions.
was talking to Jordan the other day about it. I didn't hate it. It didn't blow me away.
That should be a blurb on the back.
Yeah, but we're talking. It's it's a lot of references for just references' sake, which it's fun and it's okay. But
some hardcore detailing that kind of takes you out of the story sometimes.
I would say what hopes I have for the movie. Well, first off, I would say the premiere went really well.
Yeah, I just saw some little blurb on some who was not a fan of the book basically said like, well, the buzz is that maybe Spielberg turned something that wasn't very good into something worth something. Yeah. So that's kind of the buzz that I'm hearing. So
I would say what you're saying, Michael, is a problem that's probably fixed by the movie, where he painstakingly explains each of these references, and in the movie they're just going to show it. Yeah. You'll just see it and see the reference. Yeah. Okay.
I also have a feeling it's like, it's going to be a lot more Back to the Future references rather than Dungeons and Dragons references.
Yeah.
Like, let's just face it.
And that's honestly, I have said before, to fully enjoy the book, you have to have been a Dungeons and Dragons fan. Like, I loved that part of it. Because I have played Tomb of Horrors. I've been crushed by Tomb of Horrors. You can't win that module. And to hear him do that was so cool to me, I love that. And I was like, most people haven't done that. They don't know what the heck they're talking about. So, there's going to be things, though, in the book that they're not going to do in this movie because of the properties. There's, like you said, there's no Star Wars.
Yeah, I just saw the article today that Steven Spielberg
X-Wing
couldn't get Star Wars license, so who could use Star Wars?
Right, so there's no Star Wars. I'm pretty sure there's no Disney. There's no Marvel. So it's all WB. It's all WB, Warner Brothers stuff, and a little bit of Universal because of him.
And the Iron Giant.
Yeah.
I assume that's replacing
Ultraman.
Because
some of that stuff that's so obscure, where the people who love this book are like, oh, that's my thing. If it's Dungeons and Dragons or whatever it is, that's kind of why they connected to that book. But it's like that's 99% of the movie-going audience has no idea what Ultraman even is. Yeah, I don't even really know what Ultraman is. So it's like that doesn't make sense.
Ultraman doesn't know what he is.
Yeah.
Well, the worst reaction possible for an audience would be to, here's a thing, and have half the audience say, well, what is that? What's that from? If it's not instantly recognizable, you're not going to get that gasp. And I'm going for gasps. You're not gonna get that reaction that you're looking for.
Yeah, you pull up in a DeLorean, everybody's like, oh, that's what they're going
is that
for.
the robot from the thing? Or is it Japanese? Or is that the thing?
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
If you're in my theater, you better not be whispering stuff like that.
I was telling Jordan, the one thing about, when I was reading through it a few weeks ago, I was just listening to some music or whatever, and, it kept talking about, specific Rush albums or whatever. So I'm like, hey, man, I like Rush. I'll listen to some Rush. So I was like, put in 2112. I was like, listening to it as I was reading it. I said it was funny because at one point I was in a Rush zone there, so I was listening to a few different albums. I was like, oh, let's listen to this random album, and I was flipping through, reading, and all of a sudden it references a specific song that I was listening to at that moment. I was like, oh, Rush, yeah.
Well, I've told this before. I blew my son's mind because I read the book and I wrote down every reference that I cared about, and then for 3 weeks we listened to every song. We looked at old Joust videos and just everything. And I was like, here, read this book. And he was like, his mind was blown.
That's good.
And I was like, so that was the positive experience I got to share with him. That's why I was so high on the book, and I'm expecting to really enjoy them. I'm not expecting an Oscar movie. I'm expecting some Spielberg magic. I love Spielberg.
As long as there's Rush on the soundtrack.
That's right. No, if there better be. That book is so Rush heavy.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, looking forward to that. I was glad to hear some positive things about it. Also, people always talk about the uncanny valley and things. You're looking, you've seen the previews now, all the animation and stuff. That shouldn't be bother people as much because it's supposed to be this virtual reality thing.
When I first kind of saw that, I was like, that looks weird. But then, it's like, well, it should look kind of weird.
Right.
So I think
you're not supposed to expect it to look real. Anyway, we'll see. Anything else?
The only other news, I don't have any other Star Wars news, but this kind of falls into Star Wars. But I don't know if anyone saw the story. I think it's like an extra on the Blu-ray. Maybe it's coming out for Last Jedi.
I wasn't sure we were going to bring it up, but yes, let's do it.
Okay. Well, no, I saw a story that made me laugh that every time Laura Dern shot the blaster, she would go pew pew and make pew pew noises, and like the director couldn't.
There's a gif of her. Yeah. You can see her lips.
You can see her going pew pew.
Yeah.
And she was just like, "Well, what do you want me to do?" I felt like I was in my room and I was playing Star Wars. So.
Ryan Johnson said she could not do it. I couldn't capture her not saying pew pew, and I thought that was great. There's an extra out. You can get it digitally now. By the time you hear this, you can probably get the Blu-ray, and I'm planning on getting it because there's a feature-length documentary called "The Director and the Jedi" that's people are talking about right now because people just were able to download it recently. But when they filmed this, they just said instead of doing like they did on Force Awakens, which is a very produced, showing you what they want to show you about how they did it because they were kind of nervous about what they were doing. Ryan was just like, whatever. They hired a documentarian film guy, and they had cameras the whole time, and they were mic'd the whole time, everybody. So it's supposed to be a real quality documentary about them making the movie, and it's just everybody seems to love it. I can't wait to see it, all the real natural behind the scenes stuff. So yeah, I'll be buying that Blu-ray. Let's do it. Let's get some hashtags. I wrote down some stuff.
Well, I have one little story.
Oh, he's got a story.
Since I was busy washing my feet earlier, I needed to tell you guys my harrowing story of how I survived the crashing of my picture. I was... I know I'm telling this story. Anyway, there's this picture my wife wanted me to hang up in our kitchen, and I had been putting it off for a few days, and I finally got around to doing it. I think it was last Saturday. And I was standing...
That doesn't sound like you.
I know. I was standing on the chair, and the picture went to the left, and I tried to adjust to catch for the picture, and the chair went out from underneath me. As I saw my life flash before my eyes, because my head was going right towards the stove, I leaped over the chair and instead just caught my big toe on the chair.
No, not your big toe.
It's so bad. I have been limping all week. I'm surprised my toe... I thought my toenail was going to fall off, but it's been bruised and beaten to death and back. Like... It's just like my soul is in my big toe.
I wondered why you were like really taking some serious casual foot washing in there, like really getting in there.
That's how you came up with the idea for the flux capacitor.
Yes. Okay. Absolutely.
All right. I don't know if I can beat the toast. I got amalgamation. These are all from Michael. Amalgamation.
I like the amalgamation.
Red Goblin. And heavily reshoots.
I had Namer the Submariner and A to B.
A to B.
I think it's got to be A to B.
A to B. That's it.
Ka-Pow, the pop culture podcast. Everything you need to know from A to B.
It writes itself.
And as always, I am the most well-equipped, illustrious Michael K. Easton.
I'm Jordan Lowe. You can find us on Twitter at the Ka-Pow Podcast, on Facebook, or always www.udownwithkpp.com.
I'm Jared Lowe. Thanks for having me.
I'm Seth. Bye forever.
Ka-Pow, the pop culture podcast, is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Sounds, music, and clips played during the podcast are property of copyright holders. All original content is property of www.udownwithkpp.com.